In the 19th century, British naturalist Charles Darwin propounded a scientific theory linking man and ape in the ladder of evolution. On July 20, 1925, John T. Scopes, a public school teacher, was defended by the great lawyer Clarence Darrow when he went on trial in Dayton, Tennessee, for teaching Darwin's theory of evolution in his classroom. William Jennings Bryan, three-time Democratic presidential candidate, joined the prosecution. A child picked out the jury numbers. Scopes was convicted, but the verdict was later set aside. The trial was held in a circus atmosphere with newspapers and newsreels playing up the story with ludicrous byplay. That man should have anything in common with an ape was one big joke.
In 1859, Charles Darwin published The Origin of the Species, in which he rejected the common belief that each species was created independently. Shortly after, in 1871, Darwin published his second book, The Descent of Man. In this book, he directly addressed the debate over the origin of the human species, arguing that man is descended from a hairy-tailed quadruplet, probably arboreal in its habits and a habitant of the Old World. His theory soon became known as evolution. In 1914, a man named George William Hunter published the book A Civil Biology, which taught the theory of evolution. Because of these new modern theories, a wave of revivalism developed, becoming especially strong in the South. Although many other churches were able to reconcile Darwin's theory with the Bible, the rural preachers preferred a stricter interpretation. So, on March 21st of 1925, the Tennessee House of Representatives approved the Butler Bill, which was a statute that called for a ban on the teaching of evolution. It prohibited the teaching of any theory that denies the story of the divine creation of man as taught in the Bible, and to teach instead that man has ascended from a lower order of animals. The American Civil Liberties Union quickly led the charge of evolution supporters. It sent out newspaper ads offering to fund the legal defense of any Tennessee teacher willing to fight the law in court. And in the spring of 1925, John T. Scopes, a science teacher and football coach, walked into his classroom and read from the Dayton's Tennessee-approved textbook Hunter's Civic Biology, part of a chapter on the evolution of the human and Darwin's theory of natural selection. His arrest soon followed and a trial date was set. The man defending Scopes was Clarence Darrow, a member of the ACLU National Committee and a lawyer at the height of his career. His opposition was William Jennings Bryan, who spoke the Cross of Gold speech in 1896 at the Democratic Convention in Chicago, had become the leader in the anti-evolution movement, and, at the time, was leading a fundamentalist crusade to banish Darwin's theory of evolution from American classrooms. Darrow supported the populist candidate William Jennings Bryan in his first presidential campaign, but he opposed Bryan's religious beliefs. For years, Darrow had been trying to engage Bryan in a public debate over science and religion. He believed the Scopes trial would be the perfect platform for that debate. The judge of the trial, John T. Ralston, always started each day with a prayer. The first day was the juror selection. The prosecution and the defense both rejected jurors. In the end, a jury of 12 men, including 10 farmers and 11 regular churchgoers, was selected. The second day was the defense's opening statement, where Darrow argued that the law was unconstitutional.
Can't you understand that if you take a law like evolution and you make it a crime to teach it in the public schools, tomorrow you can make it a crime to teach it in the private schools, and tomorrow you may make it a crime to read about it, and soon you may ban books and newspapers. And then you may turn Catholic against Protestant, and Protestant against Protestant, and try to foist your own religion upon the mind of man. If you can do one, you can do the other, because fanaticism and ignorance is forever busy and needs feeding. And soon, Your Honor, with banners flying and with drums beating, we'll be marching backward, backward, through the glorious ages of that 16th century, when bigots burned the man who dared bring enlightenment and intelligence to the human mind.
On the third day, Darrow objected to the daily prayer, but because of the judge's beliefs in prayer at the beginning of every day, and that it invoked divine guidance, he saw no reason why he shouldn't continue. On the fourth day, the real trial started. The prosecution attacked the defense's said theory and its motives. One of Scope's students gave testimony for the prosecution. On the fifth day, prosecution and defense argued over the defense's expert testimony. In the end, the 8 scientists were dismissed and their statements were not given, although excerpts from their testimonies were widely reported on. The defense was left with no testimony. On the 6th day, Darrow was at his wit's end. With no testimony to give, he could only insult and outrage the people of the court. But on the 7th day, Clarence Darrow made courtroom history when he asked William Jennings Bryan to stand as an expert on the Bible. Bryan accepted.
Oh my God. I'm going to destroy you as a witness.
Bryan was crushed.
In fact, he determined that the Lord began the creation on the 23rd of October, 4004 BC at 9 a.m. At Eastern Standard Time? Or Rocky Mountain Time? It wasn't daylight saving time, was it? Because the Lord didn't make the sun until the 4th day.
That is correct.
That first day, well, what do you think it was, 24 hours long?
The Bible says it was a day.
Well, there was no sun. How do you know how long it was?
The Bible says it was a day.
Well, was it a normal day, a literal day, 24-hour day?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I do not think about things I do not think about.
Do you ever think about things that you do think about?
At the end of the trial, on the 8th day, Scopes was convicted and given a $100 fine. This long-awaited showdown was so widely reported on, with such a large audience, that religion suffered a huge blow. 1,000 people showed up for the first day along with many reporters. It was the first live court case to be broadcasted on the radio.
What's that?
Enunciator. Doing a broadcast? We got a direct wire to WGN Chicago. As soon as the jury returns, we'll broadcast the verdict.
Radio.
Unfortunately, technology did not permit any of the Scopes trial to be recorded. Today, only the transcripts remain. The trial was reported by WGN Radio. It was announced by Quinn Ryan, famous for creating broadcasts that were almost as good as being there. The report of the Scopes trial was a tremendous hit, with listeners all over the nation. The Scopes trial even made it into theater, with a musical, and then, even later, in 1960, a movie called Inherit the Wind.
Inherit the Wind makes news everywhere.
Although this movie was a hit in most theaters, not everyone thought it was so great. Especially not Eloise Reed, who was present at the premiere just outside of Dayton.
It belittled our town. They showed all of the ugliness that they could get into it to make it look like a little bitty borough or something, you know. It was the way they portrayed us because we didn't believe in the theory, or maybe not that, but we didn't want it taught. We didn't care. We didn't give a hoot whether they taught it in the school or not. That's all right. They couldn't make the people around here believe it.
Well, it's true the real Scopes trial did not have a passionate love scene, nor a sassy reporter.
I do hateful things for which people love me, and I do lovable things for which they hate me.
The movie did get a few aspects correct.
For all last night and today, the legion of the unwashed and holy have been rivering out of the rustic backways to listen to their plump messiah, coo and bellow. The high priest of mumbo jumbo, Matthew Harrison Brady, has alternately been stuffing himself with fried chicken and belching platitudes since his arrival here 2 days ago.
All right, can we continue?
Monkey trial. Here's another one. Monkey shines in Hillsborough. The whole world's laughing at it.
Although maybe it wasn't the world, many people did laugh. Modernists used humor to take down the religious conservatives, starting with William Jennings Bryan. Although he died 5 days after the trial, the media and later the movie portrayed him as disillusioned and ignorant. It sparked an all-out war between religion and science, and although the tensions between the two have lessened over the years, this debate is still prominent today. The Scopes trial was the beginning, and we have yet to see an end.
You can't make a monkey out of me. If a can't make a monkey out of me, oh no. You can't make a monkey out of me. No, no, I am human through and through. All my aunts and uncles too. And you can't make a monkey out of me. If a man never came from a monkey, as some say they be coming now, and would ever be. But mankind is the same in all ages as today, and you can't make a monkey out of me. You can't make a monkey out of me.